Hello everyone, my name is Jeffrey Kennedy and welcome back to part 2 of our percent R page discussion. Now in the last video we went through and kind of discussed some of the components of my percent R page, and just to kind of refresh your memory, on this page I basically have three primary tools, or it serves three primary functions. Number one, we have the Donchian channel, which I explained in the last video, and then also two, the data format here is that of a Japanese candlestick price chart. Now a Japanese candlestick chart utilizes the same information and its construction as an open high-low close price chart. It's just that the data is illustrated a bit differently. And then in the bottom two panes here, I have a dual percent R tool. This is Williams percent R. Specifically, it was developed by Larry Williams. And that I'll have a discussion on how I use that tool specifically in the next video. So in this video, we're going to be discussing the Japanese candlestick proportion of this technical page. So let me go ahead and bring over another price chart. Now remember, just to kind of just go back, and I don't mean to be redundant, but I do like to drive home a point, several times just so everybody's clear. The Donchian average, again, very simple tool developed by Richard Donchian, and the way I use this tool is it assists me in being able to quickly discern what the primary trend of a market is. If the price action is below a Donchian average, the trend is down. If price action is above the Donchian average, the trend is up. And then from a trading perspective, what I'm looking for in an uptrending market, I want to see small corrections in price come back to at or near the Donchian average and then reverse. So in an uptrending market, I look for reversals in price at or near the Donchian average. In a downtrending market, when say I'm maybe buying puts or looking to sell something, then I'm looking for counter trend moves to go up to at or near that Donchian average and then terminate and then rejoin the larger downtrend in that particular market. Now, Japanese candlesticks actually come into play because they can allow us to zero in a little bit more precisely. I'm a big fan of Japanese candlestick analysis. I've been my primary, say, if I have I have several expertise as a professional technician, but number one, of course, I'm an Elliottician. I worked at Elliott Wave International for 30 years. That's my go-to. Okay, I've been counting waves for 30 plus years. That's my primary expertise. I would say I fell in love with candlestick analysis 20 years ago, and I'm a big proponent of Japanese candlestick analysis. For example, where say for the wave principle, you can look at a price chart. And the wave principle, the Elliott wave principle, what that allows you to do when you look at a price chart, say of 5 years worth of data, the wave principle allows you to look at all that, the totality of that 5 years worth of data, and put it into a digestible context. Okay, that's the power of the wave principle, where I can take a lot of data and basically walk away with, okay, hey, this makes sense. I know what's going on. That's 3, 4, and 5, and then we have an ABC working here. Candlestick analysis is almost the total opposite, in that I can actually look at a single price bar or look at 2 or 3 candles, that's what they're actually called, and glean just a humongous amount of information. Okay, so I'm not going to get too deep into some of the basics of Japanese candlestick analysis, because in future videos that I put together for my library, I will go through and explain, okay, hey, this is an upper shadow, this is a lower shadow, this is a real body, and so on and so on. So we're just kind of get to the meat here. If you are familiar with Japanese candlestick analysis, bravo. I'm a big proponent of Japanese candlestick analysis. But if you pick up a book, any of the books, and my 2 favorite books, just so you know, on Japanese candlestick analysis, and if you want to pause the video and write these down, please go right ahead. I learned much of my Japanese candlestick work from the man, and his name is Steve Nison. Nison, Steve Nison. And the book is my reference book is Japanese Candlestick Charting Techniques. Steve Nison is the individual who is credited with introducing the West to Japanese candlestick analysis. And just to kind of give you an idea of its efficacy is Japanese candlestick analysis has been around for a couple of hundred years. Yes, it dates all the way back to I believe the Japanese rice exchanges like 300 years ago. Okay, so simply put, I don't think Japanese candlestick analysis would still be around if it was not an effective form of financial analysis or market analysis. And I truly believe it is. So if you're interested in learning more about Japanese candlestick analysis, pick up the book Japanese Candlestick Charting Techniques by Steve Neeson. Now, another book that I absolutely love, and I'm a big fan of this gentleman, his name is Thomas Bulkowski. He does phenomenal work. I've been a big fan. I've been following him for, almost 2 decades now, but at easily 15 years. Thomas, the way you spell Thomas, Bulkowski, Bulkowski. I really enjoy his work. He wrote a phenomenal book, Encyclopedia of Candlestick Charts. Well, as soon as you break open a candlestick price chart book, you'll realize that there are several hundred different types of Japanese candlestick patterns. And a lot of times whenever you're, presented with that much information, it's hard to see the forest through the trees. And part of my job as an educator is to kind of boil things down, show you the highlights, basically present you with some cliff notes in an attempt to shorten your learning curve. So when it comes to specifically analysis, market forecasting, and trading, rather than having to memorize all 200 plus candlestick formations or patterns, here's my list right here. And I've shown you this before, and I think maybe in one of the Market Academy videos. But now you'll have it for the library. The library is not going anywhere. These are my favorite Japanese candlestick patterns. So these are what I consider to be the top 10 or 12. I don't know how many patterns are here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. These are my top 10, okay? My top 10 formations. And just to kind of go through, bullish and bearish engulfing, failed bullish and bearish engulfing, dark cloud cover, piercing pattern, morning star, evening star, 3 inside up, 3 inside down, 3 white soldiers, 3 black crows, bullish, bearish, engulfing shadow. That's actually my pattern. Hammer, shooting star, bullish and bearish belt hold, and then the advance and decline block. Advance block and decline block. These are my favorite patterns. Okay, now if you're if you're very new to Japanese candlestick analysis and your eyes are starting to glaze over by looking at this list, here's what I consider to be the essentials. I sometimes call this my short list, but these are the essentials. So you only have 4. Okay, I told you I was going to give you some cliff notes. It doesn't get any simpler than this. Stars, any kind of star formation. Evening star, morning star, doji star. If it's a star, pay attention to it. Engulfing patterns, bullish engulfing, bearish engulfing, failed bullish engulfing, failed bearish engulfing, whatever. If it's an engulfing pattern, pay attention to it. 3 white soldiers, 3 black crows. I think I have some examples of those in the next few slides. Those candles occur whenever you have 3 successive candles where the real bodies are getting larger and larger and larger. It's an indication of increased volatility. And then any kind of candle with either a long or no shadow. If it has a long shadow, that means something. If it has no shadow, that means something. Long shadows basically tell us that the market is rejecting higher or lower prices. If it does not have a shadow, then that tells us the bulls or the bears are in total control of that market. Again, it has a meaning. It has a significance. So how do we use Japanese candlesticks in conjunction with the Donchian average? Well, that's what the next few slides are. Okay. Now remember, we use the Donchian average to identify trend. And then within the trend, from a trading perspective, say for example, if the trend is up, we want to see prices come back to at or near the Donchian average. And when they come back to at or near the Donchian average, that's where we want to see some type of bullish Japanese candlestick reversal pattern occur. Conversely, in a downtrending market, if prices advance correctively and they get tangled up around that Donchian average, and then we see a bearish engulfing pattern, then that's kind of our, heads up, hey, that's like a red flag. Pay attention to me. For example, here is Tesla, price chart of Tesla, and this is a weekly price chart. And notice what occurred here going back into, say, 2022. Prices came down. We're well below the Donchian average. This tells me the trend is down. And then prices advance. And then prices are getting advancing, but notice they're getting tangled up in and around the Donchian average. And then right here, this would have been back in September of 2022, we actually saw an evening star formation. Remember I said pay attention to any kind of pattern that's a star? Well, this is an example of an evening star formation. It's where you have three candles, and the real bodies of these three candles do not overlap. Okay? It's okay if the shadows overlap, but you don't want the real bodies to overlap. This could be interpreted somewhat similar to the old school style of analysis. If you're looking at an open high low close price chart, we would refer to that as an island reversal, a bearish island reversal. But we're not discussing old school styles of technical analysis. We're talking candlesticks, and this is an evening star formation. So you have an evening star, a bearish reversal pattern, right at the Donchian average. Okay, so the implication of this pattern, because again, it's in the direction of the trend, which is, I think, the correct way to interpret and utilize candlesticks. This is a great selling opportunity, and the implication is, because this is a weekly price chart, that you should see an additional 3 to 5 weeks of decline. Okay, so whenever you see a reversal pattern, bullish or bearish, the implication is that move, that direction is determined or going to be quote unquote high confidence for the next 3 to 5 periods. So since we had the bearish engulfing pattern here, the implication is at least for the next 3 to 5 weeks, we should see further decline. So this would be week number 1, week number 2, week number 3. 3 weeks, boom, we did see the drop, and we came right back to the lower boundary line of the Donchian average. And then you have 4 and 5. And then here, these three candles right here, if you want to continue to focus on the trend trading style, these three candles right here, this represents a 3 inside down bearish reversal formation. So again, nice little selling opportunity here, nice selling opportunity here. How do we know that? By simply applying correctly 2 very unique tools, the Donchian channel and candlesticks. Very, very simple. And then you see kind of a change of what's going on in the market. If you look at this period of time back in April, May, February, March, April, May, right here, where prices move above the Donchian average, and now we're seeing the Donchian average act as support. So really what I'm looking for is I'm looking for a reversal in price, but I don't want to get above my in front of my ski tips. Okay, I want to see some some confirming price action. I want to see something that I sometimes refer to as setting the hook, something that anchors the low in place. Okay, well here we actually have a failed bearish engulfing pattern, but what's really exciting right here is you can see the real bodies begin to increase in size. Now this is technically not a 3 white soldier formation, but I definitely like the bullish engulfing pattern that occurred here back in May. And that gave us the advance to the upside. Now, let me just kind of get on my soapbox and kind of deviate from the lesson plan just for a brief moment as far as the proper way to use candlesticks from a trading perspective. Okay, when the trend is up, my focus is going to be on those bullish reversal patterns. When the trend is down, my focus is going to be, as far as identifying trade setups, bearish reversal patterns. If the trend is up, okay, now just slow down here and listen to what I'm saying. When the trend is up and I see a bearish reversal pattern, that is not a selling opportunity. What that is that is a risk management opportunity. So for example, here is the buy signal here in Tesla. The trend is up. How do we know the trend is up? Prices are above the Donchian average. We're seeing the reversal right on the Donchian average, okay? So this is, if you like Tesla and want to buy it, again, it's up to you. Then, hey, you have your signal. Now here, this isn't a selling opportunity because, again, it's at the top. But what this does do is say, hey, if I'm long and I see a bearish engulfing pattern like this, then I want to think about risk management. I want to think about maybe exiting the position. I want to think about taking profits. Maybe I want to get out of half the position. Whatever, trading style, whatever risk management rules that you have, that's the time to engage. But I don't like utilizing these as selling opportunities when the primary trend is up. So again, to keep things simple, focus on trade as far as trade setups, high confident trade setups. Focus on bullish patterns, bullish reversal patterns, and the direction of in an uptrending market, and focus on bearish reversal patterns and a downtrending market. If you get a bearish reversal pattern in an uptrending market, it's an indication that you need to manage risk. If you get a bullish reversal pattern in a downtrending market, it means the same thing. You need to manage risk. Okay, now let's get back to the lesson plan. Okay, here we're looking at another chart here. This is Microsoft weekly level. And again, here over to the left, the trend clearly to the downside. How do we know the trend is clearly to the downside? Prices are below the Donchian average. So as a trader, what am I doing? I'm looking for opportunity. So where does opportunity occur on the chart? At or near the Donchian average. So once we see prices move up to the Donchian average and get a bearish engulfing pattern, there's your selling opportunity. Come over here, 3 inside down, pretty much the same thing. Here you have a candle with a very long lower shadow. Okay, so that says, okay, hey, the market's going to go lower. We have the bearish engulfing pattern here, but notice it failed. Okay, so it failed right here. Okay, because over the next 3 days, prices did not decline. It actually turned up. That's actually bullish. Okay, prices get back above the Donchian average, and now they're acting as support here and then again here. So I want to focus on those bullish engulfing patterns again in an uptrending market, bearish engulfing patterns in a downtrending market, and whatever else develops. Those are my indications or my signs to manage risk. And here is a price chart of the bond, weekly 30-year bond. Again, Donchian average. Boom, hit it, reverse. Hit it, reverse. But when we see the reversal, we have a bearish engulfing pattern here. This is an advanced block. Notice that the real bodies are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. An advanced block is actually the opposite of, say, for example, a 3 black crow or like a 3 white soldier. Whenever you have a 3 white soldier, you have green candles. Or white, but for my charts, because of the color code combination, I use green, where each candle, the real body, gets successively larger. That's called a 3 white soldier formation. That tells you that volatility to the upside is beginning to accelerate. So if you have 3 candles, but those candles, the real bodies, get smaller and smaller and smaller, then that means upward momentum, upward volatility is actually decreasing. So we see prices advance, and we do so in an advanced block. The real bodies are getting smaller and smaller, and then we have 2 weeks, 3 weeks actually, of candles with very large upper shadows. Very large upper shadows tells us the market is rejecting higher prices. And then what happens? Boom, we come to the downside here. And then this pattern right here, boom, 1, 2, 3, 4, that is referred to as a bullish tower formation. That's not a buy signal. That is actually an indication that you need to manage the risk of your previous, say, shorting position or short side position. Well, that's about it for this episode. I will see you in the next episode, and that's where I explain the percent R and how to combine the percent R, my dual percent R technique, with what we've just learned regarding the Donchian channel and also, too, Japanese candlesticks.